Hello everybody, welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing a brand new review, and today I'm going to be reviewing A Quiet Place Day 1, co-written and directed by Michael Sarnowski, starring Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn, of course detailing day 1 of the events that led to A Quiet Place. I don't know if there's a specific timeline and name for it yet. I know that they do it in day 1, day 0, etc. But I can't wait to talk about this. And going into this a little bit of my background, The Quiet Place films. Quiet Place Part 2 actually was the first ever press screening we did on the channel, so that was a really cool one to go to. Didn't get the chance to go to a press screening for this, but I have been excited for this because I love the sort of, I can't call them post-pandemic I guess anymore, the post-apocalyptic type films. I've always enjoyed them. I love seeing films that also detail apocalypses and whatnot. Maybe that's a bit sadistic, but I enjoy those types of films. And A Quiet Place was something where I didn't see when it first came out. And I watched the first one, I think almost a couple of days before the second one. And I had a really good time with it. And I very much enjoyed the second film as well. I've not revisited them. And I'd seen reports online they were going to do a third one. They were looking at doing spin-off ones. They could do them in different cities, different countries. And sometimes people don't like that sort of thing. I'm not trying to go for the whole cinematic universe vibe. That's like an overused term these days. But I genuinely would sit back and think, you know what? I'd watch more films in this world. I'd like to see different cultures, different cities, to see what happened or how are they coping at what point into the future. And Day 1's a really interesting one because this, of course, is being set in New York City, one of the loudest cities in the world. Filmmaking a very, very conscious decision to talk about the decibel levels of the city when it begins. And we all kind of know what's going to happen, right? And that's what's great about it being a Day 1. I know the second film showed us a little bit of that background. This is how it affected this family, how their Day 1 was. But I quite liked the concept of let's do it in a big city and see how it is in this environment and introduce some new characters into the fold. And I think it's something that's got to be quite delicate in terms of writing. And I know that there are people that worked on the first films that of course, it's got a different director this time, as I mentioned at the beginning of the film. Michael Sarnowski, he did co-write this as well. Joseph Kosinski co-wrote this too, which is very much worth mentioning. Of course, he did create it, and I quite like the fact that he's open to other people being involved in this. And I guess we're at a point where, you know, you've done 2 very successful films in their own right. Maybe people want to see more. You cast someone as incredible as Lupita Nyong'o, an Oscar winner. She's been in big franchises. She's been in incredible films. She tends to pick her projects very wisely. And you put her in a lead role. And I've got to say, she is absolutely superb in this. I don't want to talk too much about her character's background. I avoided the marketing for this film. I say avoided the marketing, I didn't see any trailers. I tried to avoid trailers. I'm sold on the premise. I want to go into it blind. I think it's the best way to experience some of these. And very much from the opening scenes, we know Lupita Nyong'o's character. She is going through some stuff, to put lightly, with respect to health. And the film immediately sets a different kind of anticipation for the rest of it. Normally you're thinking, how can a character collide this, what's going to happen? But we begin with this character in a very certain way, and I think it's a really smart way to write it in because the stance and what could go on in the film, what normal characters will feel, what they could go through is very different to her. And I think it's a very, very wise decision to do this. It's something unique that I don't know if it's been done before in an apocalypse type film. And it is very much the hook of the film is, are you going to run out of time for this character? And I hope that's not giving too much away. And then you bring in Joseph Quinn as well, who we know has had a massive breakthrough of Stranger Things. We know he's going to be in Gladiator 2. He's been cast in Fantastic Four. He is absolutely ripping through Hollywood at an incredible pace. And I was really curious to see him in this because obviously Stranger Things very much enjoyed him in the most recent season. But I want to see if he's going to transition into film star. He's already doing massive projects. I want to see what he can do on the big screen. And I thought he was absolutely superb in this. And the reason I'm sticking with these 2 leads is because the film is make or break with them. The natural chemistry they have between them, and you've got to give them so much praise. On a film, the logic is, you know, you have to be silent. The performance, it's in facial expressions, it's in the movement, it's the physicality of it. And I thought the pair of them were absolutely great together. And I quite liked their character arcs and the different adventures they're going on. A lot of people keep talking about the cat as well. The cat is almost the 3rd lead in this. I thought it was a cool little anecdote. It's a great bit between the characters to have this cat involved as well. It's not comedic, cat puts you in peril, cat gets you out of peril. It actually kind of made me think, like, yeah, like, how do people with pets go through something like this in a fictional apocalypse? And again, I'd like to find out those answers, and this film gives us a bit of it. And I know I'm talking about the environment, so I've been talking about the sound, but with a film such as The Quiet Place, you've got to be invested in the story. And when it's a prequel, or a day one in this case, where we know what's going to happen, it immediately takes you down to the character arcs. What's going to happen? Am I invested? Am I aligning with these characters? Yes, I absolutely am. And I think if the film hasn't written these competent characters, they're not likable, maybe they're detestable, or you don't care for them, you're going to have a very different experience. But their performances between them are so good in this. I mentioned the chemistry. There's a scene towards the end. I think it's actually a scene a lot of people are going to be talking about with this film. And it reminded me of, it's such a weird comparison, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, when you get the dance in the tent, and it's these characters who've gone through so much peril, but at the end of the day they're kids and they're having a dance together. And you know, when you're younger, people sort of laugh at that when we're at school. You get older and you realise that's maybe one of the best scenes of the Harry Potter series. Very different tangent, but this film does something like this, and it's believable within the characters and the journey you've gone on, certainly with Lupita Nyong'o, who is in the film from the beginning through to the end, whereas Joseph Quinn does come into it a little bit later on. So he is a lead, but he's almost more of a support, because he does come in about halfway through. But he's a very welcome addition. And speaking of welcome additions, this Quiet Place being the first of a potential spin-offs, I'd like to see more. Not necessarily with characters from this, but I'm just sold on the premise that we could go anywhere. Let's see what happened in London. Let's see what happened in Tokyo. Let's go to different cities. Maybe let's go to some smaller, quiet places, because I quite liked the potential the series has. Obviously, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And I think this film answers that cynical question: is did you need a spin-off to The Quiet Place? Ultimately, no, you never need a spin-off anywhere, but it adds so much more to it, and I'm quite excited to go back and watch A Quiet Place 1 and 2 now, just because it's a really interesting dynamic. And you know, I spoke about cast members. You had like Cillian Murphy popping up in the second one. You had some great characters appear in these films, and there is a character from the films in this one. I don't know if he's been in the trailers. I'm not going to say who the actor is. Maybe he's all over the posters or something, and I'm just oblivious to it. But if you don't know, go in blind, because it's a great sort of DiCaprio pointing moment. It's like but I had a blast of this, and I guess where you got to talk about with a film such as The Quiet Place. It's horror technically. Now I've never been big on horror, and for me these films, it's not about making you jump, it's the investment of these characters and the peril you can be in, and just the idea that sound is what attracts these aliens, these monsters to attack. It's a really great dynamic for filmmaking, especially on the sound design. And there are moments where you're in water fountains, you're near burning furnaces. It's such a great way to create immediate tension, and sometimes it's predictable, sometimes it's unpredictable, and the thing that adds itself. So going into a city such as New York, you absolutely know the carnage it's going to cause from it. And I actually had a lot of comparisons to the 2005 Spielberg War of the Worlds. There's some great scenes in this that are very reminiscent of that film. I think it's a very underrated film, not just because it's Cruise and Spielberg, but I genuinely think it's a really underrated film. And I actually felt a lot of comparisons to this, maybe because we're seeing this apocalypse unfold in front of our eyes during this big established city, but it's when you bring in these great actors, put them in these environments, following them on their journey, that's what I'm invested in, and this film absolutely delivers with that. So that's all I can really say on this. It's a pretty glowing review from me. I didn't go in with the biggest of anticipations. I didn't go in with the biggest hype or think this could be terrible, this could be the best thing ever. It was very strange. The review embargo was today at 2 p.m. UK time. People were watching it before the reviews came out. The reviews have been very positive, and I was sort of sat there like, okay, that's great. I hope this hasn't damaged the marketing in any way. I hope, there's not big spoilers to be out there. And obviously that is a worry a lot of the time when there are no reviews, there's nothing. It can minimise, people's attraction to it. No one can see it. But I really hope this is a unique way for them to market the film. Everyone's going to blow up, talk about word of mouth. I don't know if that'll happen. Inside Out's about to hit $1 billion probably this week. So I really hope this film can be a success. I think the cast deserve it. The filmmakers deserve it. It's a great premise for a film. And do I recommend you seeing this on the big screen? I was nervous that too. Watching it with the very typical cinema crowd. Okay, it's a Thursday evening. There were maybe 20, 30 people. No one was being loud. No one was on their phones. Everyone was respectful of the tone of the film. And that's my biggest worry is, if you're in a packed cinema, are people going to be quiet? I had my own drink, and you almost have to ration drinking it to a point it's safe to do so. And that atmosphere adds to the experience. you accidentally take the wrong sip and you're kind of stuck there waiting for it to make a noise to carry on or to put the drink cup down. So I'm sad. I like that sort of stuff, but this film absolutely nailed it for me. So yes, I recommend this. I recommend seeing it on the big screen. I didn't see it in IMAX, so I can't talk about the experience seeing it there, but I really recommend seeing it. So I do hope you enjoy it. I hope you like this review. There are more reviews to come. We've got The Bear season 3 to do. Kind of Kindness is out in the UK this week as well. There's a few films coming out. It's not as big a summer blockbuster season as before, but we've got a lot of stuff happening on the channel. The Doctor Who reviews have now finished for the new first season. We're going week to week on The Acolyte, and also a massive thank you to everyone that checked out episode 5. That sort of blew up when we didn't anticipate it to. So that is going to do it for today. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to join us on the next one. Take care.